All
Okay.
right, we are live. Welcome to everybody who is watching us live, and welcome to folks who are watching this async. Very happy that you're here. I'm Dr. Jennie Byrne, and I have a wonderful guest here with me today, Amber Morrison-Kaiser. And we're going to do some introductions, and then we're going to talk about what Amber calls the leadership gap and how it relates to neurodivergency in the workplace. And any links that we talk about, we'll be putting into the comment section later after the end of the stream so that you'll know how to reach either of us if you'd like to reach out. So, having said that, my name is Dr. Jennie Byrne. I'm a psychiatrist and a neuroscientist by training. And most of my clinical work over the past couple decades has focused on adults and, in particular, ADHD. And I got started on this because I live down the street from the University of North Carolina, and they started sending all their ADHD professors and students and doctors and everybody over because the university didn't want to treat ADHD. And I had to very quickly teach myself how to treat ADHD because it was something I got about 45 minutes lecture on one time, and it was about ADHD in kids. So, been doing this now for a couple decades and got very passionate about getting good quality information out for folks who are professionals with ADHD. So, it led me to write my third book on the topic, which just came out a couple weeks ago. In the process, I got to meet Amber on LinkedIn and was really intrigued by what she's doing. So, Amber, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Much. That was past a line a lot. I was diagnosed as ADHD in my 30s. Believe it or not, I didn't even believe it was a thing before that until my kids. Like my daughter first got ADHD and then my son got it. And I thought, I got it from somewhere. So I got tested and I thought, okay, this explains a lot. Now, what do I do with it? There's not a lot of information out on the internet about it. Uh, Most of it is about boys, and about 1% of it is girls. Uh, a couple of years ago, in 2022, I was working at an organization they were really into DEI, and they had ERGs, employee resource groups. I was the leader of the Women in Leadership employee resource group at the time. And I was a member of Toastmasters, so I was writing speeches. And it was the first time I disclosed to my leader that I had ADHD, to any leader. And I was writing a healthcare regulatory policy manual. And I was looking at all the details, and I got stuck on the craziest thing. I got stuck on what format am I going to put this in? I'm going to put it in Word. Am I going to make it a PDF? For weeks, I was at this wall, and my manager stepped in and said, "Why don't we do this? I'm going to basically lift you over that wall, and then you can go." And I realized that she had just accidentally made an accommodation for me. So that got me thinking. I wrote a speech for Toastmasters about how people talk about ADHD. We joke about, oh, my brain is so ADD today, or something like that. And I thought, should we really be doing? Uh, should people with neurodiversity or neurodivergent people have accommodations just like anyone else? When you fill out an employment application, the very last page is a disclosure about what kind of disabilities you have. And on that form is neurodiversity, ADHD, autism, dyslexia. So that got me thinking. I thought, I'm going to do something with this. I'm going to start an ERG. So I met with the DEI team and I got an executive sponsor and I wrote the charter and then I launched it. And my goal was to get information, collect information so that we could educate people, educate leaders, educate employees. Uh, that's not quite how it went. I was surprised because the people showed up and they didn't want anyone to know that they were there. Uh, they wanted a safe place to talk to other people. And I was shocked at how many people. I had 20 people sign up on the first day. Um, and I was shocked that one of the people that I had first talked about was the DEI team. Somebody in the DEI team even showed up. So I was thinking, wow, these people have hidden this even from me, and I'm not their leader. So what I did instead is we decided that it would be a safe space for uh, people with neurodivergent neurodiversity and allies who leaders who want to learn. Even people showed up because their like stepchild had ADHD or neurodiversity problem. They wanted to learn. So I asked people, I said, if you could tell your leader what would help you be a better, like what would help you show up at work well? What accommodations would you use for? And at first, people are like, I don't even know because nobody's asked me before, right? And we started talking about it, and it came up with things like, I hate being called on in a meeting when I'm not. Like, I want to know if you're going to call on me at a meeting so that I can digest the information, um, be able to comment on it well. Uh, some people don't like bright light. Me, I'll work in the dark. People want to wear headphones. Me, noise cancellation because my brain is just running a million things. And when you put these accommodations to people, they tell you what, I know that it's a cliche, but ADHD can be my superpower if the conditions on the way. So that led me to my current status. I'm launching my coaching, my leadership coaching, leadership neurodiversity coaching business. And I had the opportunity to um, be a clinic administrator at a clinic that serves just the neurodiverse population. And I got that job specifically because of all the work that I put into the ERG and even after that. So that's my story.
Wow. I love that story. I talked with another colleague of mine, Tamaya Kumar, and he, similar to you, has ADHD, and was just wrote a book on being a leader, a neurodivergent leader. So it's a super interesting topic to me. Um, I'm curious, one of the things I found when I was interviewing for the book was that people who are leaders or manager in HR want to do the right thing often, but they don't know what to do. And so they're like, I don't think I should say anything because this person hasn't disclosed to me. What do I do if I suspect someone has ADHD or neurodivergence, but they haven't disclosed it to me? What would your advice be for anybody who's in that situation?
Let me back up just for a minute because I forgot one piece of this. After the ERG was established and I was regularly posting
Hmm.
leadership uh, from a neurodiversity lens on our company intranet page, the learning and development team came to me and said, we want to put together learning for the aspiring leaders program. We want to put together neurodiversity, like how to be a leader leading neurodiverse
Hmm.
team and lens, and we baked it into that group so that every leader came out of it at least had that little bit. Back to your question. This is not I wrote an article on LinkedIn about this recently, and I talk about the leadership gap, which is the leadership pipeline. Usually, we take great individual contributors that they do excellent work, and because of that, they're visible, and then they're promoted into usually a supervisor or a manager role. And there's a gap there. The training. There's no training. So they're overnight, they're handed a title and the power over the people they lead, their well-being and success with no training, no leadership development. I see it every day. I hear about it every day. And when you combine that with neurodiversity, um, uh, it causes trauma, quite honestly. My advice would be to do what every leader should be doing, which is getting to know your people,
Hmm.
asking questions
Okay.
about it's like in healthcare we have universal precautions, which is and that means like you would treat everyone as if they had tuberculosis. So you take the same precautions to be careful. So what if everyone on your team is you need to get to know that person and see how would you like me to communicate with you? How do you do in meetings? What kind of space do you need? You don't need to come right out and say,
Hmm.
do you have ADHD? You just need to ask the right questions. And it's not just that, it's like ADHD and
Hmm.
dyslexia and all of those things. You just need to get to know your employees and ask the right questions.
Yeah, I love that. I remember part of when I was researching for the book, it's kind of what you're saying is like by asking the right questions, you're opening a safe space, right? Because you're showing that you're comfortable talking about it and without putting labels or diagnoses on anything.
Right.
And then I've worked at a couple startups where they actually did kind of like an all about me. Everybody would come like say, this is time of day when I'm at my best. This is the best way to communicate with me. This is I need to have heads down time. I'm an introvert. I'm an ex. It like created a space for people to everybody, whether they were neurodiverse or not, to talk about themselves. And I love that. And I really was like, why don't all companies have something? It's just like a
Right?
user manual, like get to know me as a person, because even if you don't have ADHD, we all have times of day or, things that strengths and challenges. And so I like that. I thought that was a nice way to do it. But it sounds like very similar to what you're saying. Just ask the right questions in a safe way.
Ask questions. It doesn't matter if they disclose or not. And I'll even expand on it. It doesn't matter if they are neurodivergent or not. Meeting people's needs and removing barriers from them doing good work is the job of the leader. I talk about um, companies as a pyramid, and you've got the C-suite at the top, you got managers and supervisors in the middle, and then you have the base, the foundation, the most important part of the pyramid structure. And if you don't take care of the base and keep it strong, then your pyramid is going to fall. So my job as a leader is to make sure that I keep the foundation strong. And I can do that by removing obstacles that are keeping people from doing their best work. And to do that, you need to know your people. Here's a story. So
Hmm.
I got this job at as administrator of this clinic, and I haven't started it yet. Um, but I've been doing some stuff. And uh, I believe the employers and the employees though might be neurodivergent in some way. And I got a DM in LinkedIn, and it was just, "Hi, Amber. Um, my name is such and such, and I understand that you're going to be working at this place." I was like, "Yeah, thanks." I thought it was just, I put it on LinkedIn, and people were like, "Congratulations on a new role." But this was like, I worked there, and I wanted to tell you about me. And
Mm.
I've never had that happen before. It was interesting,
Hmm.
but it was really cool to know what I'm part of what I'm walking in on. I'm really glad they reached out. I think that my new leader read my article
Mm.
about leading people and shared it with everybody there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And so, because everybody's nervous about the new leader coming in, what are they going to be
Sure.
like?
Sure.
And
Hmm.
so, fire leader trauma is what I call
Okay. I had another question. I know in what you had shared with me earlier, you were saying that when it came to yourself, you actually, I think you said you didn't think ADHD was real at first until you saw your
it. Oh,
kids, and then
yep.
you didn't feel like it could relate to you until you actually got assessed. Like, why do you think now looking back on that for others who may be listening, like, what was it that led you to think it wasn't real?
No, maybe I think it was just my generation, the generation Gen X that I grew up in, that where mental health and wasn't really a thing yet. And so it was portrayed as hyperactive boys.
Hmm.
And there wasn't really any research about girls. And I had a girl first. I wasn't thinking about hyperactive boys. And
Mm.
then as she was in second grade, well, we knew something was happening by the time she was 3. Is she went into an early intervention program, and she was on an IEP at school, and uh, teacher parent teacher conferences were awful. She's not paying attention. She's not learning well. I think that we need to get her tested. I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, let's do that. And so our doctor suggested starting her on a medication. And it was night
Mm.
and day. And parent teacher conferences or teachers saying, wow, whatever you're doing, don't stop
Mm.
doing. And then 2 years later, like my son came along and he was the same way. He was hyper. He kept paying attention to this day. He's 20 now. To this day, he takes his medication because he's in college now. And he still needs it to pay attention. I recognize those things in myself.
With the when the kids were getting assessed is when you recognized it, right? Yeah.
And so it took me um, having someone around me that I knew had ADHD and saw the difference when they're being treated for it, that made me think, I want to get myself tested. And boy, was it a test. It was hours and hours long. It wasn't as easy as my kids' test. It was like an IQ test and a
You
language
you did
test,
the full
the
neuropsychological
whole thing.
testing. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I learned from that testing resonated right away. It was automatic. I was like, yep, 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 yep. So I had built like all of these sophisticated workarounds
Yeah.
to protect me from myself. That's what I you joke because I lose stuff all the time. So I've been laying it on my phone to protect me from myself. And I had developed all of these sophisticated workarounds and um, a huge vocabulary because I read books. Books are my comfort. I put on noise canceling headphones at the end of the day and I read. That's kind of funny. When I'm really stressed and overloaded, I have to read like Little House on the Prairie or something like that. Really to just calm my mind.
hmm So I hear this story a lot, and it's interesting in the workplace because once you recognize ADHD and neurodivergency, you really see a lot. And we think ADHD is 10 to 5 to 10% of the whole adult population. So I mean, if your team has 10 people,
Yeah,
good chance you got at least one ADHDer on the team. And then, they probably, like you, if they've been high achieving, they develop whatever you want to call it, workarounds or coping skills or masking.
yep,
And sometimes they've actually been very successful with all that, but it comes at a cost. Do
it
you,
does.
did it come at a cost for you?
So here's what kind of happens to me is that I can come in the morning and go 200 miles an hour and stay focused, but then around 2:30, I'm burnt out. I'm burnt out. I uh, burn hot and then burn out, and I have nothing to give for the rest of the day.
Even at home?
Even out, I go home
Yeah.
on my noise canceling headphones and I read Little House on the Prairie or something like that. And I have to really guard against that. Um, in my own business, I'm determined to close the leadership gap. I hear about people who have just been traumatized by leaders who were part of their team and then elevated to power over them. And if they had any bias against people, it was every day. Right before we went online, I got a message from someone. Uh, I messed this up and I don't want to do that again. Can you help me? I developed this. I came up with the idea and built a business structure and onboarded a director of outreach uh, since March 1st and built a LinkedIn presence. And I'm sorry, March 31st is when I started. And I just go. I go. It's the first thing I do every day. I'm out talking to people. I love talking to people, but then I hit a wall. It's like, okay, no more people.
You've built
I
something
get sick.
now as an entrepreneur, basically, that is
Yeah.
going to let your brain thrive, right? That's what
Yes.
I really try to help paint the picture for people. Like getting through the day is great, but
Hmm.
thriving is something entirely different. And when you're high achieving, um, sometimes things look really good on paper, but it's still not thriving, right?
I know this about myself. So like, knowing about yourself and guarding against what you know will happen if you do a thing applies to your employees as well, your leaders. I know what I went through.
Hmm
Um, leadership, neurodiversity leadership training is very niche. Like, there's no DDI doesn't have it yet. There's just small third parties. You can't really find it. Um,
Hmm.
and so I'm sure that's another thing I'm trying to do. Part of my leadership coaching includes that neurodiversity leaders.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, time has flown by, Amber, and
It
I think,
has.
yeah, we're gonna close out here in a minute. If people would like to get in touch with you, again, we'll put this in the chat later, but what's the best way for people to find you?
On LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn all the time. Send me a message, send me a DM. Um, yeah.
Great. Great. Well, any final thoughts? Like if people just took one thing away from this conversation, like what's the one thing you want them to take away?
If you are a leader, get to know your people. Get to know your people and what they need because each person needs something different, regardless of whether or not they have their neurodivergent. And if you are neurodivergent yourself, let your leader know what you need. You don't have to disclose what your diagnosis, but let your leader know how you can perform your best self.
Great advice. Awesome. Thank you. Well, again, if anyone's listening, Amber, reach out to her on LinkedIn. My name's Dr. Jennie Byrne. You can find me on my website, constellationpllc.com. I do ADHD assessments and treatment in 25 states now. And my new book is ADHD and Professionals Embracing Your Brain, which you can find on Amazon. So we'll sign off for now. But thank you again, Amber, for being here. And I learned a lot.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great talk.